Hello, dear colleagues, and welcome to Cause and Effect, our webinar for legal professionals to develop verbal communication skills at work. My name is André Noël Chaker, and I have the great pleasure of being the moderator of this session. I am the chairman and co-founder at MySpeaker and the chief architect of our Rhetorich platform, and I'm also a lawyer. I'd like to talk to you about the challenges legal professionals face at work with their verbal communications. And the first problem that we face is a fear of speaking in public. I think this is a generalized fear. It's the second biggest fear according to research after the fear of snakes. But where this shows in the legal profession is that people in our profession are very used to writing great arguments, writing great memos, and are excellent at written communications, and perhaps less so in verbal communications. And we shy away from verbal communications, even fear it to a certain extent. So we need, events like this and platforms like the ones that we offer here at MySpeaker to develop that skill. The other challenge we have is that speaking will become more and more a top 3 skill of the future in the legal profession. We need to develop this skill using AI tools to make us even more impactful speakers when we speak so that we can command the room anywhere we go, whether it's with our customers, whether it's with our clients, or whether it's with our colleagues, or even with public officials. And our third challenge is that we are not prepared to do this. Our education system has not prepared us to become excellent verbal communication specialists in our different fields. And therefore, we need that kind of support going forward. And that's why we organized this webinar. And finally, we wanted to make every minute you invest with us worthwhile. We're all very busy. We have frenetic lifestyles, and therefore let's cut to the chase and go into our webinar today. We have 2 great speakers. We have Unni Turrettini, a fellow member of the New York Bar and a human connection specialist, and we have Antti Ikonen, who is the CEO of Legal Folks. Will talk to us about his experience with our AI development platform to become a better verbal communication as a legal professional. But let's start with Unni. She has a very important message for us this morning on how, and looking into the secret of engaging people and improving communication. Unni, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, André, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. 13 years ago, I wrote a book called The Mystery of the Lone Wolf Killer about Anders Behring Breivik, a mass shooter who killed 77 people in Norway in 2011, close to my hometown. I needed to understand what would drive someone like him to become a mass killer. So I followed his trial, I studied him, and then I studied similar killers around the world. And I learned that Anders Breivik, these other mass shooters, and I are not that different. A couple of months after Breivik's massacre, I was at home in Geneva playing with my kids. Axel was 4 and Ella 2. And Axel's lining up his mini airplanes, and Ella's cranky because her brother won't let her play with his airplanes. So I pick her up and I hold her in my arms to soothe her, and she has this beautiful baby scent. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I have everything I could ever want. Yet inside, I feel empty, dissatisfied, even a little bit lonely. Now, how can this be when I'm surrounded by people I love and people who love me? And just last year, I shared this story on Instagram, and that reel got 1 million views. I received hundreds of messages from people from all over the world, all feeling the same way. And I knew from my research, Breivik and these other mass killers knew this feeling too. They also felt empty and lonely. Loneliness is our current pandemic. 1 out of 4 people in the world right now is dealing with loneliness. And that correlates with the fact that half the global workforce is unhappy. 80% of employees are disengaged, and that includes your potential clients. And the solution is obvious. We just need more connection. And we as human beings, we're hardwired to connect. In his research at UCLA, Professor Bruce Austin found that there are 3 levels of connection that we all need. The first is intimate connection, just one or a handful of people you can trust and be vulnerable with. The second is social connection, a network of friends, family, and colleagues. And the third is societal connection, knowing you belong in our community. Clearly, Anders Breivik and these other mass shooters I studied were lacking these. But what about me? I had a husband and a family. I had a large network. I had an international career in law and finance. I knew where I fit in our society, yet I still felt empty. I go see doctors, therapists, coaches, healers. I read books. I even start meditating and doing yoga. And one day, I'm at home all by myself. Nothing's happening. The house is quiet. I've just pressed the button on the Nespresso machine and I'm watching the drops of coffee pouring into my cup. And then I start to feel this warm feeling in my body. And for the first time in years, I'm not regurgitating that to-do list in my head. And I'm not thinking of all the ways in which I failed as a mother while building my career. And I can feel my heart and I feel grateful and this incredible peace. And suddenly I see everything so clearly, all my own stuff. The lies I've told myself, the masks I've been wearing, the ways in which I change myself to fit in. And right then, Uni met Uni, and I don't feel lonely or empty at all. I wish I could tell you I feel like that all the time now. I don't. Like so many people, I'm in constant motion, rushing from the airport to the taxi, from the kids' schools to the doctor's appointments to from one meeting to the next, living in survival mode like so many of you. Now, here's the thing about survival mode that we know from neuroscientists, and you might have heard this before. As humans, we seek safety in numbers. And when we feel isolated, our brain goes, danger, danger, danger. And this triggers the release of fight or flight stress hormones. And they increase our heart rate, our blood pressure, and our blood sugar levels to provide energy in case we need to either fight an enemy, run away from it, or freeze. But we're only meant to sustain these chemicals for short periods of time. We were never meant to run away from danger every minute of the day, although that's what modern life often feels like. But here's what also happens in survival mode that we don't talk about as much. When we're in survival mode, we become suspicious of other people. We see potential threats all around us. We get tunnel vision. We lose trust and we try to control every outcome, which explains a lot about why our world looks the way it does right now. It explains why we're not motivated or engaged and why our communication goes awry. And here's the thing. Most people live in survival mode 70% of the time. And when you're feeling isolated, even if you're not alone or feeling lonely, and that fight or flight stress response is triggered, suddenly the danger you're responding to can show up looking like your coworker or boss or client, or maybe your spouse, your child or mother-in-law, or pretty much anyone who disagrees with your opinion. Survival mode is not a time when we can collaborate and connect with each other. It is not a time to communicate because even if you're communicating clearly and effectively, they can't receive it. Think of it this way. Imagine you're cleaning your house. You take out the vacuum cleaner, you get done with the kitchen, you move on to the living room and then to the den before you realize it's not even plugged in. That's how we are. We go through our lives not even noticing that we're not plugged in, that we're not connected with ourselves. And when we're not connected with ourselves, even if we have successful jobs, good marriages, and we go to lots of dinner parties, we can still feel empty, disconnected, and dissatisfied with our lives. So in order to connect with others and get a life that feels truly fulfilled and be able to communicate and be received, you have to deactivate survival mode and connect with yourself first. And my favorite way to do that and to rediscover the sense of connection I felt alone at my house that day is with my breath. So let's take a breath together right now. Put down your phone, stop multitasking, I invite you to close your eyes and place one hand on your heart and inhale with me for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now hold your breath for 4, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 4, 2, 3, 4. Now hold, 2, 3, 4. One more time. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Now one more time. This time when you inhale, I open the door to myself. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, I come a little closer to home. And you may open your eyes. Welcome back. Now, I stop and do this simple practice a few times every day to feel calm, more connected, and more peaceful. Because when I'm connected with this place in me, then I can connect with people intimately, socially, and feel like I belong in our society. And I've learned that you don't need to be married or even have a best friend from kindergarten to feel more connected. Connection can happen anywhere, even with a stranger. Many years ago, when I was working at a bank in Geneva, my boss sent me to this huge finance conference in Moscow. I didn't know anyone, and the only other woman there was Madeleine Albright. I can't hang out with her. One morning, I'm in the elevator when this man enters. He looks at me. Hey, Unni, how are you doing this morning? I barely remembered meeting him briefly at one of the events earlier in the week, and just him remembering me gave me such a boost. The rest of the conference, I'm on fire. I'm talking with everyone I meet, and I'm finding new investors for our fund. This is the power of relational energy, a term used by Owens, Baker, Sumter, and Cameron to describe the energy that is created in our social work interactions. Now, they found that relational energy is powerful because it sparks the chain of reactions I felt that day at the conference. First, it can make someone feel really good. And this shift can give people more clarity, focus, and concentration. And this makes us more productive. A simple moment of seeing and acknowledging someone can shift that person's day and maybe their life. Because relational energy has the power to take you out of survival mode and into the present moment. Employers value these kinds of connections because they increase engagement, communication, and profitability. And as humans, we need these exchanges because for one brief moment, we feel connected, whole, part of something bigger than ourselves. And it just takes a few seconds like that in an elevator or with a kind comment on social media or in a meeting with a potential client. Imagine living in a world where we all have a simple daily practice of deactivating our own survival mode and then creating relational energy. A world where we can all find the courage to first connect with ourselves and then connect with others. A world where loneliness is more like a common cold than a pandemic. And I can't help but wonder, what if that was the world we were living in back in 2011? Would it have changed the course of action for Anders Breivik and the 77 people he killed? I don't know. What I do know is that there are two states of mind that we live in, either one or the other. There is survival, and then there's creation. And you and me, unless we're running from a tiger, we want to live in creative mode as much as we can, because that's where we feel fulfilled, feel loved. That's where we can get creative in finding solutions to problems and obstacles. That's where opportunities live. That's where we can communicate and engage. The most effective tool for communication and engagement isn't the words that we use. It's authenticity. Because our subconscious mind, which lives in the body, communicates through energy. And we know that. When there is conflict between our rational mind and the subconscious mind wins every time. And authenticity is a vibration. It's energy, just like love. And I learned recently that authenticity is 400% more powerful as a vibration than love. And maybe that's because authenticity is so rare. We crave it. And what is authenticity? It's the connection that we have with ourselves. And when we're disconnected, when we're in survival, that's when we have to turn to pretending, playing roles, and wearing masks. That's when we turn to hard work, forcing outcomes, and manipulation. That's when we talk at each other or essentially we talk at a wall because we're all in survival. So I encourage you to give people more of you, and you will see communication and sales improve, and you will see more engagement. And the way that you give people more of you is by deactivating fight or flight and connecting with yourself first. Thank you.
Well, we're here with Antti Ikonen, the CEO of Legal Folks, and I'm so happy to see you again. And I noticed that without consultation, we seem to have the same types of clothes on. I think.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So happy to have you on this webinar. Thank you for coming. And you've been on this My Speaker Rhetoric journey now with your colleagues, and I wanted to ask you, why did you want to improve the verbal communication skills of your company?
Well, that's a fair question. Our idea has been since the beginning of Legal Folks that law is people business. And although we're entering into the digital age and a lot of the legal work is done through Teams, through writing, without facing other people, it's still people business where you have to be persuasive, not only credible, but persuasive and likable. Mm-hmm. And that happens the best when you have a physical connection with somebody. Whether it's the courtroom, whether it's the jury, whether it's a potential client, whether it's the opposing party in a contract negotiation, you have to be able to deliver your message credibly, but also in a likable and relevant manner. And that's why we thought this is a great opportunity for us to improve our skills.
Well, that's fantastic, and I so agree with you. This is a people business. So the legal business is a people business. And could you tell us maybe 3 takeaways? What do you think were the key learnings from both the technical side, the AI analysis and improvement tools, the content and the experience in general? Perhaps top 3 takeaways that you take from Rhetoric.
Well, the takeaways are so far. I mean, we are still happy to continue our journeys, but communication is not easy. It's something you can and you should improve in order to achieve the goals and the objectives you have. Mm-hmm. With the AI, with the platform, with your coaching, it's all become visible, and we just need to be vulnerable and be able to reflect our current status and sort of adapt to the analysis and the tips we get. So it's a hugely advanced innovation that you have created with the Rhetoric, and we're so happy to be able to use it because we've shown growth and improved results within these few weeks already. So that's one. The continuous improvement is possible, but it's also necessary in order to master in communication, which is important. The second takeaway is that it's a lot of fun. It's not legal work, which we do every day, more or less. So this is something else, even though there's a clear connection to our daily work. So our entire team has thought this is a great fun.
That's great.
Which is always good for the commitment and for the improvement. And the third one is that it's directly linked to our values. We want to be the lawyers, the law firm, who's easy to read, who communicates clearly, concisely, without twists and turns. And this all helps us in living up to our values.
Antti, I want to thank you for those 3 points. Excellent point. And we couldn't close our webinar on from clause to effect, from clause to effect, with anything better than those three insights. Thank you for being on this journey with us, and hopefully, all of you will join us on a similar journey to improve our verbal communication skills as lawyers and legal professionals. Thank you, Antti. Thank you to all of you.